Today on the show, I'm thrilled to welcome our guest, a hospitality leader with a uniquely people centered approach to building restaurant brands. She is reshaping fast casual dining with a healthy, purpose led vision. Her journey to the hospitality space began outside of the kitchen. She holds a master's in counseling psychology and worked in child welfare before transitioning into hospitality. Since joining Chichio Restaurant Group in 2016, I hear an echo and I cannot.
Oh, I don't hear an echo.
You don't hear an echo. Okay.
I don't on
Actually,
my side, but
can I? So it says you're using MacBook Pro, FaceTime camera. Um,
and there's
that's
like an echo cancellation thing that's off.
right. Okay. Now I don't. So I'm just going to re. I do a little bit.
Let's see. Do you think I could also try to wear headphones? Will that make it better, do you think?
No, I don't want to mess. I'm not hearing it too bad right now. So
Okay.
I'll just restart.
Okay.
Okay, Moody, I will cut you an email note, but basically we're going to restart from the top right here. Today on the show, I'm thrilled to welcome our guest, a hospitality leader with a uniquely people centered approach to building restaurant brands. She's reshaping the fast casual dining with a healthy, purpose led vision. Her journey to the hospitality space began actually outside of the kitchen. She holds a master's in counseling psychology and worked in child welfare before transitioning into hospitality. Since joining Chichio Restaurant Group back in 2016, she has leveraged her counseling background to build not just meals, but meaningful guest experiences. This is going to be an awesome conversation. I am so excited to introduce you to Tara O'Neill. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. What a nice introduction. I appreciate that, Lauren. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, it's an important role that you do. It is a very people focused business. And I know that our listeners are going to get so much out of this conversation. So I appreciate you dedicating the time today.
Absolutely. Love talking about people-y things. So
So let's start with just that. What originally drew you to people leadership and to hospitality specifically?
yeah, so I'll start with hospitality. And what I would say is hospitality has been something I've always done. It was actually the very first place that I had my job. I think I was maybe around 13 years old when I started a little weekend job pouring coffee on the weekends at one of my mom's friends' restaurants for like $20 a day. So that was my first start in the industry. And through college and so forth, it's just always been there for me. And even though I've taken other detours and routes along the way, it's always felt like home to me. So hospitality is super fun. And then when it comes to people leadership, I have always been super fascinated by people. I think people are so beautiful and messy and funny and just all of the things in between. And I really, when I think about people leadership specifically, I think everyone really is a people leader because whether it's leading other people or just being a leader of our own lives. So yeah, that's kind of what drew me to hospitality and then how I feel about people leadership.
I love it. I In management, I hear a lot of people say the same thing. What I really wish I would have studied was counseling, right? I mean, a lot of management is working and building and empowering people. I'm curious if you would say being a chief people officer is different in the hospitality space specifically compared to other industries.
Yeah, so I think I can only answer from my vantage point because I've only ever been one in the hospitality industry. But what I would say when I talk to other people leaders is that what I tend to find is all of the awesome things about leading people and all the opportunities tend to be pretty universal, regardless of what industry we're in. What I would say is, generally speaking, when I think about what's cool about the hospitality space is that there's tends to be such a diverse
Yeah.
range of people that we see, whether it's skill level, education, different socioeconomic status, like all across the board. So in that way, I think it's really beautiful in the restaurant industry, and it can also, of course, present its unique challenges. But at the end of the day, I think people are people, and there's just so much more that we have in common than different. So I think I find it's pretty universal, regardless of the industry.
Yeah, I love that. How about for the brands that may be listening, are starting smaller, they're going to be growing, and want to understand, okay, what does a chief people officer role look like for a brand? What are some of the touch points that you have with those that are in the restaurant? Break it down for us.
Yeah, so I think, and again, roles tend to look different depending on where a company might be in its growth stage. For us specifically, what it looks like for me is I consider myself part of the GUI center. That really my responsibility is making sure we don't lose sight of
Mm.
people and the humanity of it all. And again, just the GUI center of our culture is what I would say. So that's really my role. But technically speaking, I would say um, you know, in terms of my accountabilities, it's everything from the culture stuff, how we develop leaders, it's total reward strategy, it's training and development, HR stuff falls under my belt, but at the center of it all, it's just making sure we have the human elements in the business and that we're creating environments where people can learn and grow and thrive.
What have you found to be most successful in terms of building culture? It's a topic that I hear on every conversation. And I always get so lit up by the answers for this question because it looks different for every brand. But truly, what would you say is how you build it within an organization, or perhaps what has been your experience?
Yes, I love this question. So, whenever we talk about culture, and we talk about it a lot at Fresh Kitchen, and it's actually something that I feel very proud of our culture. It's very sticky. It's very lived. I think when you walk into our restaurants, and not just something that's kind of hanging on a wall. So, the first thing I would say about culture is there's no neutral to it, right? So, we're either actively contributing to it, or we're actively detracting from it with whatever the words, decisions, actions, behaviors we show up. So part of how we've made it sticky or come to life at Fresh Kitchen is, we have our core set of 6 values, but they're cute and fun little sayings that mean something, but we've taken it a step further and we've really operationalized those values. So what that means is for each value, we've defined a set of behaviors. What does it look like, to show love? What does it look like to demonstrate being food first? What does it look like to keep it real? And this way, we don't want our values to be up for interpretation. We want every single team member, whether you're hourly all the way, to the CEO, to understand and have shared language for how we behave and how we operate in Fresh Kitchen. And we really design those behaviors based on who we aspire to be and the leaders and the type of team members that we want to attract. So, my answer is operationalizing the values is essential for building the culture that you want and making it sticky.
It's a great approach. Our company has something similar where actually monthly we meet and
Cool.
employees can nominate one another with an example of how they reflected one of our guiding principles.
Love it.
And when we started this the beginning of last year, what happened was just this immediate pattern of not only hearing what our values are, but attaching them to our company and the behaviors that we do each day, whether it's interacting with
Yes.
customers or each other. So yeah, huge shout out to anyone out there just trying to understand where do I start with culture and how do I attach it to the brand identity? It's understanding your values or guiding principles and then threading in recognition for where those are lived out. I love that combination. So that's great you brought that up.
Yeah, and I would say to your point on like then, once you've done all that work and how do you we really truly weave it into everything we do at Fresh Kitchen, like we have these things that are called fresh citations. So like there's these little pads of paper that our managers have with our values. And when we see a team member living a value, we give them it's like a cool citation. So what value are we living or were you living? We give it to them. We weave it into all of our interview guides. They're all values based. Even when we have to coach and counsel a team member, it's always done through the lens of our values. It's really embedded into all of our systems and process, I would say.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
One item that gets brought up with employees in and out of the hospitality space is understanding path for growth. Can you touch on how this looks at Fresh Kitchen or how you feel is a great way to support developing leaders internally?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where I would start this by saying this is one of the things I find most energizing about working in the restaurant industry, because I really do think it is a place that people can really grow and build a career. You don't have to have a certain degree or background or whatever. All you have to have is like the intrinsic motivation and the openness to learning and just really showing up and doing your best. And you can go from an hourly team member to making six figures within, a couple years, 3, 5 years, or what have you. Um, how we approach it at Fresh Kitchen, I would say, is we are very sort of process oriented. I think it's important to document what the path actually looks like for team members so that it's tangible and so that it's easy for our managers who are leading those team members to also be able to articulate it and they don't feel stuck. So we've taken a very sort of clear approach to what does it look like to be what we call on a path to partnership at our
Mm.
company. And there's literally um, we have like levels in each of our roles that it's like, here's the competencies for this level. You want to get to the next level, this is what you need to do. So it's very documented and mapped out for us. And that's how we do it. And then training systems and tools for each one of the roles. So it's all very transparent and we put it out there for our team to see. Um and then the other nice thing I think about keeping it so transparent is then you can really identify the team members that actually have that intrinsic motivation and want it because the tools are there, the path is there, you can see it. Now it's on you for like, am I going to show the drive to like, show up and do it kind of a thing.
That's brilliant. I mean, if it's transparent and the expectation is that intrinsic motivation hand in hand. I
Yeah.
love that. Hospitality, as we all know, working in restaurants, the schedules, the hours, can be very demanding. And
Yep.
it's often why a lot of people leave the industry just because of trying to get back that family work-life balance. How do you think about burnout prevention or support that, you know, supporting so many teams with this in mind?
I love this question too, and of course, it's, like, part of my, like, mental health background. I think there's a couple different places, that I would go with this. So, there's there's been a trend, I think, with, or not a trend, but a lot of people approach sort of burnout prevention as, "Hey, let's provide tools to our team members so that when they feel stressed, they can, you know, get on this breathing app or this meditation app or whatever." And I think that that's part of it, right? Like, what tools can we provide to our team to build resilience and help them understand how to manage their stress? I think when I think about like self care and burnout prevention, though, that the onus is not just on the individual. I really think about it as a community effort or a company effort. So, from that point of view, I think it's just as much on the company to think about the conditions that they're creating for team members to thrive and show up within. And how can we make an environment? How can we control what we can control, right? Because in the hospitality industry, stressors are going to happen, things are going to be uncertain, but like, how can we make the predictable things sort of calm and reasonable and realistic within our expectations so that when those other things happen, we're not pushing people to the edge of their limits because the reality is humans do have limits. So as a company, we have to understand that, in terms of like, what are we asking our teams to do and how is it at odds with the life that we want, that we say we want them to live kind of a thing. So that's that answer. And then I think specifically for Fresh Kitchen, when it comes to I would say burnout, work life integration, and so forth. We have been very intentional in our design in terms of creating sort of breaking the rules about what hours need to look like in the restaurant industry. How do we get
Mhm.
our managers to be able to work 45-hour work weeks? How do we have progressive parental leave policies so that more moms and women do feel like they could be a restaurant manager if they want to. So we
Yeah.
really try and think about all those things. And again, it comes back to like, yes, let's give the team members tools to manage stress and so forth. But as a company, we have a responsibility to create the conditions for people to thrive and actually not feel burnt out.
That's so wonderful. And I think you brought up a really good starting point for many, which is on the topic of burnout prevention, just looking at your processes that are consistent and starting
Yes.
there. I love that. I mean, that's an excellent, I think sometimes just people need to know where to start with some of these big topics. So,
Yeah.
um, how you broke that down. Okay, let's talk a little bit about metrics and the future of people. Metrics are something that a lot of businesses use to measure either vendor performance or even business unit level performance. Do you use this in your role? What people metrics matter most to you? What are some of those that are in your lane?
Yes. So in my lane, and again, the chief people officer role might look a little bit different for depending on the setup of the company. But the metrics that I care about specific to my world would be fall under HR things, training things, and then I have recruiting and talent acquisition under my belt too. So I'll start at high level and we can unpack if you want to with any of the more specific ones. But at a high level, um, what I'm really focused on, and this kind of ties into the stress that we just talked about and such a fast paced sort of climate that we're in. This year, we're doubling down on stability,
Mm,
and that feels like an abstract sort of concept, but what that means is stability with our teams, right?
yeah.
So what we've been having lots of conversations around is if we're going to accept that change is going to be constant in business, in the restaurant industry, in this world, then again it comes back to what can we control and we can control to the best of our degrees the stability of our teams so that when change happens that core feels solid and they're more resilient and they can really handle it. So, a metric, what does that actually look like? How do you put a number to it? What we've defined stability as in terms of a KPI is it's like an equation of we call like sort of what would be a general manager, a managing partner. Have they been in their role at that location for 12 months or more? That's part of the equation. Then, how long has their collective management team been together? And has that been at least an average of 6 months together? So we know when we have a managing partner that's been in place and a team that's been together and gelling and really been through that whole what we call like the forming and storming and norming and performing phase, that they're going to be a stable team and they have the conditions basically for high performance. So that's the highest level sort of people metric that we're really focused on right now. But outside of that, we look at training effectiveness. We look at the qualities of our hires in
Mm.
terms of who we hire. Is there early turnover? Do we see that? We look at average tenure of our teams, and then specifically, we also look at like our average wages for our hourly team members relative to living wages in our respective counties and cities that we live in. So, and then of course there's the basic stuff like turnover and things like that. But does that answer your question a little bit?
Forming, storming, and norming. I love that.
Yes. And then
um,
performing, that's where we want to get.
yeah, yeah. No, I think you covered a lot there. Definitely strong metrics. You brought up the understanding of wage to what the demographics are in the area, and
Yep.
I've actually seen some staggering updates on that, and it's really crazy to understand what the
Crazy.
amount is that a single person in a household needs to be able to make to live comfortably right now.
It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. One of the questions that are top of mind for a lot of people are just the advancement of technology and the generation that's coming into the labor force. Are you looking at this yet with Fresh Kitchen? How is it showing up for you, and even the smallest ways, or maybe perhaps how are you adapting training to support kind of that age group and just the understanding that they're coming in with?
Yeah, so this is I would say like a definite like dynamic question. Um so I would say one of the things, so I'll answer it in two parts. One of the things that when I see a generation that's coming in that has grown up using more technology than maybe my generation or generations before me, one of the things I see from a training perspective is now we're needing to double down, especially in the restaurant space, on training human skills. Like, how do I
Mm.
make eye contact? How do I
Wow. Yeah.
respond with my body language and so forth. And that's a real thing that we see with some of our younger frontline team members that work with us. So we're like, interesting. We're in the hospitality space. We didn't necessarily have to train like, how do I connect? How do I make eye contact and so forth? But now I'm finding that's something that's really top of mind. So that's one thing. On the other hand, how do people learn?
Mm.
So of course there's always a conversation of, you know, what needs to be digitized. We need to teach people in ways that are consistent with shortened attention spans that are happening and so forth. So there's the constant, like, all right, like, how do we sort of evolve as an organization to embrace technology more in the places where it makes sense and we're not losing, some of the essence or the vibe that we're going after. So that's part of it. And then there's the whole topic of AI. So I'll
Yeah.
say right now, actually at
Mm.
Fresh Kitchen, it feels like such a big, people are like, where do I even start? Right.
Mhm.
And I'll say right now, we are actually doing like a 10-week AI challenge. Some of our director level teams are doing it. And it's really just to like understand more about AI. How do we use it? How do we not, how do we like just reframe our thinking and understand it so we're not scared of it? And it just
Yeah.
makes it a little more approachable. So, yeah, does that answer your question?
Oh my gosh, there's so much there. I mean,
Okay.
one, how do people learn? I love that so much. We all learn differently.
Mhm.
Fantastic that you're in tune with that, obviously. Two is the retraining of skills that, have perhaps been replaced, which is just making the eye contact and connection. That one is really
It's crazy.
fascinating to me. I love that. I love that you're already considering that and aware of that. And it's something definitely to think about. And kind of segues into the next question, and you kind of answered with that. But how do you see your role evolving in hospitality over the next 5 years? Given AI and given a lot of the advancement that we're seeing happen so rapidly right now in real time.
So, of course, I think there's so much sort of uncertainty and there's so many unknowns about what this is going to look like even a year from now, let alone like 5, 10 years from now. But my intuition tells me, and from everything I try to learn about it, I think that like now is a really important time for people leaders, to be honest with you, because like I kind of mentioned, like, how do I broadly see my role? Um, our job is to make sure that we don't lose the human connection kind of a thing. So I think we are actually going to need to double down on people and human skills and training and development and so forth in a time where AI and technology continues to grow. So I actually see it as not a threat, but an invitation and a call for people leaders to like really show up and really champion and embrace the humanity of it and how do we use technology for good, like in partnership with the human side and the human connection and all the things, the thinking, the creativity. It should be a complement, not a replacement.
Yeah, and if there's things that AI or even technology advancement can support in people's roles, um, therein lies an opportunity for the individual to enhance their humanness, right? So if they're not
Yep.
head down figuring out an employee's schedule for the week because they can drop it into AI, they can replace that time with relationship building in person.
100%.
Yeah, I think the future is important for people in any role to really grab a hold on to the relationship building part of what they do.
And I
Yeah.
would say too, and this is just even us doubling down and learning more about AI. It's really interesting because I think for people that don't sort of know and they haven't like done like a deep dive into AI and tools and what does it really mean, I think sometimes it can feel like, oh, I don't have to think about things, right? And part of that
Yeah.
is true sometimes, but it's actually like to use it in a way that's really, really beneficial and can really help sort of excel things in the future, you actually have to like use it really strategically. And like it requires you to like think, and it actually requires a lot of knowledge to actually like use it appropriately or give things the right prompts or, kind of set it up on the front end. So it's been interesting to see that it's not a tool that's like, oh, you don't have to think about it. It's like quite contrary, actually.
Sure, sure. I catch myself because my kids will ask me questions. I know everyone talks about the same example, but they ask me questions on their homework, and I'm like, let me ask chat. And I do that in front of them. I'm like, that's not the best example. Um, but how do I model like a response to that, right? So, okay, so here's what I'm seeing it say. Does that check with what I know to be true, right? What can I say out loud that models some function of like,
And I with ChatG and same, right? I've done it too. And even when you kind of say like, "Hey, I need a quick like I can't think about this for a moment," it still appears to give you like a pretty solid response. So like I think we all do that. And one of the things that kind of stunned me as I've been on this journey learning about it was the idea that we should think about AI not as knowledge replacement, but more like what skills can it help like um, sort of support you with. But we shouldn't really think about it like how does Chat GPT replace knowledge kind of a thing. It's just like how can it help you be more efficient with tasks and skills kind of a thing.
right, right, absolutely. Okay, backing out of the business management and leadership of your role and your people-centered approach, I want to talk about the brand. It is a lovely brand, focused on quality ingredients and produce especially. For someone
Yes.
who hasn't walked into a restaurant, what can they expect with Fresh Kitchen?
Okay, so here's what I hope their experience would look like at Fresh Kitchen. They're going to experience three things. They're going to walk in and feel an incredible vibe. Our team member
Mm,
is going to be just like overflowing with love and hospitality, and they're just going to feel instantly better when they walk in. The other thing that's going to happen is we're going to move at the pace that fits with their life. Like we really pride ourselves on being super convenient. It's something that we call ASAP speed, as soon as perfect.
mm,
um, we want people to be in and out what we say in 8 minutes or less. The other thing
mm,
that they're going to experience is um, incredible tasting food that happens to also be really healthy. It's made from scratch. We make it every day,
mm.
and we use a lot of whole foods, and we have really strong food ethos. So incredible food, good vibes, convenient pace. That's what they're going to experience.
I love the ASAP as soon as perfect.
Yeah.
I also love the way that I feel if I've eaten food that's nourished my body.
Yes.
Just the color of the product on your menu, everything about it just looks so beautiful. So
Oh,
hat goes
thank
off
you.
to you guys.
Thank you.
Uh, what makes you most excited for the brand in specific over the next few years, as you look out?
As I think about the next few years, I've been with the brand for 10 years actually this month. And
Congrats.
thank
Wow.
you. And I think we're in our 11th year, I want to say, of just since we developed the brand. And as I think about what I'm excited about for the future, it's the challenge of scale, and it's the challenge of identifying and holding close all of the things that make us special while pushing to evolve and sort of change and transform and what that looks like in the future. And of course, I am so energized when I think about all of the opportunities that we're going to create for our team members. Nothing
Mm,
lights me up more when I see an hourly team member, that was kind of shy and nervous or whatever when I first encountered them, and now they're a managing partner or now they're a
oh,
regional. We actually just last month we promoted our first fully internal regional partner that went from an hourly team member to a regional partner, and that was like so cool to see. Like it's life changing for people.
it is life changing. It is life changing. There's a lot of incredible brands out there that support their employees, in ways that can literally bring tears to your eyes, and everyone's got a
Hmm.
different name for it. But Seeing how some of these companies wrap their arms around their people, and understanding that things happen and really it's the widest space. I mean, so many people can trace the job back to working in a restaurant. So it,
Yep.
it it really is a net that's cast wide, and with that has a high
Mm.
touch point of impact. So I do think it's so responsible and important for these companies to have different functions of not only building culture, showing path for leadership, but also how to support in times of need, whatever that looks like for a specific employee or family.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, and I'll always say, I mean, like, nothing will ever come to life without the hands and the heads and the hearts of people, so it's just like people will always be the number one strategy. You know what I mean? Like, we will always have to sort of put people on a pedestal because nothing would exist without them, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, we should really care about people and the opportunities and the environments we're creating for them.
Well, what a phenomenal human you are. I want to make sure I leave space for if someone has listened to this and wants to connect with you directly, can you perhaps share a way for those to get a hold of you if they have questions either about people leadership or are trying to carve out a role for this in their company? How can people connect with you?
Yes, I would say best way is to find me on LinkedIn and maybe we can share that in show notes or so forth. But that's probably the best way to find me. Um, and you'll probably, if you dine in Fresh Kitchen, remember the face. You'll see me, come talk to me and say hi. Love to meet new people.
Awesome. Tara, your unique blend of empathy, humanity, and excellence is truly redefining what restaurant culture can be, which is specifically around shaping people. I'm so grateful that you gave us your time today, and you should be very proud. You are carving an incredible career in this space.
Aw, thank you so much. I love this conversation. Thank you for the privilege and creating space for me. I love it.
This has been another wonderful episode of Grounded.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Great job.
Yay.
No, I think we dove into the meat of it sooner on this one, so I'm actually glad we had a practice run through.